powered by
All
Riverside
right. Hey,
FM.
friends. Welcome back to the Hippie Martha Hormone Hour. I'm Ashley, your host, and today's episode is one I truly believe so many of you will be able to take something from. We're talking all about breaking up with the burnout and using your menstrual cycle as a tool to reconnect with yourself. I'm sitting down with the amazing Valentina Thayer, a fellow fertility awareness educator, burnout coach, and advocate for deep cycle wisdom. Valentina works with teachers, healers, and empaths to help them move forward from overwhelm to alignment. And I had the joy of getting to know her through our time together at the Wells School of Body Literacy. In this conversation, we're exploring how to release burnout and to return to our own peace and power through the rhythm of our cycle and gain Valentina's beautiful perspective. Valentina, I'm so grateful to have you here. Welcome to the
Mhm.
show. You're my
Thank you.
second guest, so I'm excited. I feel like I'm just gonna interview all of the beautiful people that I got to work with through the well. So yeah, welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. And your voice is so angelic. It being 9 p.m. here, I was like, oh, this sounds like a lullaby to me right now. But I'm awake. I'm here. And I'm so happy, yeah, to be sharing what I love doing with people.
So if no one knows Valentina, Valentina lives, where are you living currently? Because you move around a lot.
I live in Vietnam, but I am currently in China, where I grew up. I'm in the house that I grew up in. Yeah.
So there is definitely a time difference. So I'm so thankful that we were able to make this work because it's
Yeah.
it's a big time difference, like 12 hours. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for creating
Not at
time out of your
all.
schedule for this. Um, well, I guess, do you want to just kind of share a bit about your background and how you became interested in this connection and working with people who have burnout or stress or things like that?
Yeah. I, when I was preparing for this podcast with you, I was thinking about this question and I was like, I've never actually shared what it really was that told me to go in the direction of helping people with burnout. And it was actually while I was bleeding and I was having really bad cramps and I was lying on the couch. I was sleeping all day. And what came out of actually multiple days of just sleeping from the pain was this very clear message that you need to work with people in burnout. You need to support these people. And this was actually a year and a half ago. And this was right when we graduated from fertility awareness. And I heard this message, but I was so confused because I was like, what am I gonna do with cycle tracking, learning fertility awareness, conception, contraception? And so I heard this nudge and I was reluctant to go fully into it. And so it took me some time to kind of piece together how I'm working with people and what are the different modalities that I am in the way that I'm supporting them. But I guess to give you a more holistic answer, burnout and stress were a very big part of my teenage years, I would say. I was always the one that would get the random sicknesses that no one else got in my family or in schools. Um, at 17, you probably know, I got Bell's palsy where half my face was paralyzed. I had no idea what was going on with my body. And a big part of it was my disconnection with my body, my disconnection with understanding how stressed I was, of suppressing the emotions that were there, of really not being able to show up for myself and take care of my needs and really rely on people pleasing, doing things externally, controlling my environment, controlling everything, making sure everything was all right. And that really backfired during my stressful senior year. And a friend passed away, and everything kind of just kept came crumbling down. And so I really realized that I needed to change my ways. I really needed to start taking responsibility for myself and prioritizing myself. And I knew like going down the doctor route was never my thing, but I really wanted to know how to like understand myself. So down the line, I went into health coaching and it was really just for me. I was like, I want to know what do I have to do so I don't get sick anymore. And then one of the last modules in my health coach training was about the menstrual cycle. And I realized, wow, everything that we learned about diet, sleep, hygiene, relationships, emotions, everything that we've learned, it all changes throughout each phase of our cycle. And I was like, and that's it. You're just going to end the course right there and there's nothing else for us to learn. And so after that, I decided to go and learn more. And that's when I studied with the Red School and fertility awareness. And while we were in our fertility awareness course, I started studying with Gabor Mate, where um, who teaches trauma-informed therapy. And I went into this because I witnessed my sister take therapy sessions for herself, and I saw her completely change. Her stress levels went down. She was able to handle stressful situations a lot better. And I saw my own sister just become a new human. It was actually incredible. And so I was like, I am learning tools and techniques to hold space for women. And I feel like I need to have this skill to hold them in the emotions that come up, talking about fertility, about contraception, about the womb space. And so that led me into that direction. And that in the process helped me unpack where all these people-pleasing tendencies came from, where all of my overgiving, just depleting all of my resources and leaving nothing within, and then leading myself to sickness and burnout. Being able to understand the root of my patterns was so illuminating for me. And slowly, this is how I started creating kind of my way of working with people now. So basically, in terms of healing burnout, in terms of healing stress, the menstrual cycle awareness, tapping into what they're needing every day is one tool they use to come back to themselves, to connect. And then the other part of my work with them is understanding what led them to burnout.
Yeah.
And and I I like explaining burnout in this way because the WHO explains burnout as simply a workplace stress. But with more research and more burnout coaches and supporters are talking about this, that burnout can also come from your personality or who you are. Are you a perfectionist, a type A person, like to control things, like to have things in order? And also your lifestyle and how you take care of yourself. Those
Mhm.
things will all contribute alongside maybe also workplace or
Right.
your responsibilities, your daily responsibilities. So all of these things contribute to stress, contribute to like, is the body, does the body have a chance to heal and
Yeah.
to get to a rhythm that it can handle, and can it breathe, and can, we recover from stressful moments, or is it always stressful?
Yeah.
That's kind of a my long
Yes,
answer.
no, I love that. It's so real because I think for myself, I was the only child. I wanted to prove something, to be the best and do the best. And that was like throughout my younger years. And now, now that I'm in perimenopause, I feel like F it. Like, I don't care anymore. And I really gained that sense of healing of I don't have to please anyone. Like
Mm.
setting boundaries and understanding that, yes, I'm here in this moment and this is what we're doing. And then also understanding how to complete that burnout cycle too, or if you have like a major stress, like how do you complete that stress cycle to kind of move forward and to not get stuck or just sucked in to the vortex of what it is.
Right.
So yeah, I
And
feel, yeah,
it's so amazing that at least now you're experiencing it's like I don't need to please anyone and I don't need to put myself through all the discomfort and the things I don't want to do. And I think that's essentially at the core of what I want to support people on
hmm
because it's like this is our life and this is why should we live a life that doesn't feel good and doesn't make us feel relaxed and easeful and one that we enjoy? People pleasing and all of these things are, yeah, it's programming from when we were younger, big trauma, small t trauma. These are all linked. And I think bringing this to the table in terms of taking care of ourselves and understanding our patterns, because there are so many times where, well, we all know what's good for us, right? Enough sleep, water, sunshine, good relationships. And how many of us are able to give ourselves all the goodness that we know our bodies deserve, our emotions, our heart deserves, and what's blocking us from doing the thing that feels good to us? That's that's been a very I think a leading question for me in why aren't we doing the things that we know would make us feel better?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you hit the nail on the head because I feel like the more you do something that makes you feel good, the more you're going to want to do it. But it's starting that process, which can be so difficult.
Right.
So,
And yeah, and starting and what comes with starting, is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it um uncertainty or self-worth issues,
yeah,
and many times we don't realize this or we just brush it off and say like, "Oh, okay, I'm
right,
not doing that." It's easier to distract myself, to drink wine and or I mean, all of these things.
right. Yeah, yep, absolutely. So, when you work with people, what are you particularly helping them focus on? Or is it just completely self-driven? Like, are you just kind of guiding them and supporting them through this process?
Yeah. When I'm working with someone, I ask them to chart their cycles. And in the chart that I give them, there's a section on the bottom where it says, "Today I need." And this need is not I need to do blah, 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 but it's I need this to feel more nourished. I need this to relax my nervous system. I need this to feel better. And as they're charting, and we meet either once a week or once every 2 weeks, they come to the session and we explore where they are able to give themselves that need. And so it's exactly understanding, if not, what was happening there. And that's where we go into the trauma-informed therapy that
That's
has
amazing.
really changed my practice. Yeah, because that we just go straight to the core of what's stopping you from standing up for yourself and from reducing stress. And that's how we can prevent burnout. And that's how we can live more aligned.
Yes, absolutely. So I know that you work with teens or have worked with teens in the past. And
Yeah.
I am holding some teen courses this summer too. Do you find that working with young people, you see burnout more in them, or are they
Hmm.
able to hold space for themselves?
When I've worked with teens, it's been in the context of school workshops.
Okay.
And so honestly, I haven't been able to I haven't done one-on-one
Okay.
sessions with them.
Yeah.
But usually in a class setting, I do 3 sessions with the same class. And what I do focus on is explaining the different phases of the cycle, understanding more in depth how the hormones can affect us, and also how stress can impact the cycle and PMS. And it's always that session that everyone is so focused, and
Hmm.
everyone, even the boys, they're just like staring at the screen. They're like, whoa, so this is why, and they have questions about their girlfriends
Yeah.
and stress is real. And I think I really didn't have any tools as a teenager to understand when I was stressed, to understand how to release stress. And you have body image issues, grades, responsibilities, parents, friends, relationships coming up. You have your hormones. You have so much to work around and deal with, and you're trying to be a person and create, your personality. And so I think this is so needed. I know I needed that. And that's because that's what led to my Bell's palsy. I know it was years of ignoring myself and years of just not having a clue about what was happening inside my body. Even
Right.
though I come from a family of 4 girls, even though my mom gave me this ring that I still wear today on my first period, you know, that like my family was period positive and I had a positive experience, but there was zero education around it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think the fact that we are always just meant to go, and there's a lot of things as a teenager that you can't control, but you want to control. And so you go in thinking, okay, I'm just gonna push through, or I'm just gonna do this, even though I feel like crap, right? And as parents, for me, I have to always remember to allow that time and space for my teens and, okay, wait a minute, let's take a pause. I don't need to grow up how I grew up. I need to, you know, emit this positive healing space where it's okay to rest. It's okay to not be productive, right? Oh,
And yeah, I think this is the biggest thing, shame around resting, guilt around not being productive and doing. And a lot of my clients that come use the language of being in their masculine. I don't usually use that in any of my marketing, masculine or feminine energy, but I've found a lot of them have come to me and said, I'm so in my masculine and I'm doing and I'm working and I can't slow down. And you know,
yeah.
it's interesting. And I think there is a growing awareness of these two sides of the coin of feminine, masculine, ovulation, menstruation, of doing and resting. And I think having the menstrual cycle be part of reconnecting to yourself and reducing stress, apart from it being a really good way to connect to yourself, I think it's a really great reminder of the flow of nature. And
Hmm.
we are nature, and that doing and resting is inherently needed in our to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, and I think what just popped up for me too is when you have a partner or a boyfriend or whatever, like the male figure in your life, I think for me, my dad and my husband are very similar as they are doers. And so I tend to run off of their energy, especially when I'm around them. And so I really have to kind of step back sometimes. And I see this with my kids too, but stepping back and really just being like, whoa, no, I need to be in that feminine energy and really understand what that feels like and what that means as far as slowing down, nourishment, nurturing, like just all of those things versus, okay, check things off the list, right? Like, let's get this done. Like, let's write it down and get it done and move on and not think about it. Whereas, I ran that basically my whole life up until I went through and learned about my menstrual cycle at 35 years old. And so I think for our listeners, it's really important to understand where you're at and how that energy affects you. I don't know. Do you feel that way too?
I mean, 100%. And I guess I would ask because it's so, yeah, this work of connecting to your energy and living in flow with yourself. It's so multifaceted because we are relational beings and we do get affected by the people around us and we do get affected by what's happening in our lives, you know? And so I would like to ask you, what have you felt? What are the signs that you caught that told you, okay, I need to pause, I need to step into my feminine, I need to slow down, I need to take care of myself? Can you recall
Oh,
specific what was
yeah,
happening?
I think, like you said, I was always sick, and I still have these moments where my body will literally just shut down, whether that's with a migraine or a stomach issue or whatever it is. And that I get very symptomatic that way. Where if I'm going and I'm too busy or I have an overburdened schedule, my body
Mm,
is just like, no, this is not okay. And it's funny because when we were in the well and I started tracking my cycles, I literally went like 8 months without a period because I was in such a stress mode. And so when we are in the Wells School of Body Literacy, we are given a mentor. And my mentor looked at my cycles and she just said, Ashley, you know what you need to do. And I was like, no, I don't. That's why you're my mentor. And she's like, no, you know exactly what you need to do. And I was like, what is it?
wow.
I'm like, I wanted her to tell me. I needed that validation. And she's like, no, you need to tell me. And I was like, oh, this is so hard. This is so hard, so difficult. And sure enough, she was right. I just needed to slow my ass down because
How could she see that in your chart?
I was charting like, so obviously I was anovulatory. I wasn't
Yeah.
ovulating. And she's like, what? Like, I would put like different things in there. So, like, whether I was exercising or trying something out, or I had GI issues or migraines or this or that. And she just knew that from my chart that I was not supporting myself. I was not nurturing myself. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't caring for myself enough. I was going to bed late. My wake up times were all messed up. My whole
Mm.
circadian rhythm was just dysfunctioned. And so literally after I think one meeting with her, I like got off the call and I was really irritated. I was like, she did not help me at all. Like this is not what mentors are supposed to do. And I hope she listens to this because I love her dearly and we still connect every once in a while. And she literally saved me. I mean, I was
Wow.
able to get my cycle back. I was able to recognize from my cycle of when stress was a problem, right? Because
Mhm.
it hit me. It knew stress and my cycle did not mix. So if I wasn't ovulating, I knew I had to do something. And so yeah, I think just her, but that initial conversation, I was like, rude. This is not okay.
I never heard that story.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
I went to Sarah and I was like, I just don't think this is a good fit. She's like, no, you need her. You need her. Like everyone knew it but me. And so I think that looking forward and now understanding how, everything works with the menstrual cycle and how stress looks on my chart and how to recognize that because also I had very irregular temperatures. So, like, my spikes of my
Mm.
temperatures were going up and down. And that was another thing that my mentor pointed out. She's like, well, this is a huge sign of a dysregulated nervous system. Like your nervous system is just not supported. And so I remember our second meeting. It was like she looked at me and she's like, "You got it, huh?" And I was like, "Yes." Like tears. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I thought so ill of you." She's like, "It's okay." Like, she's like, "I can only help you so much." And I think in our work that we do, you really can guide you and we can mentor you and coach you. But you have to do the work and you have to figure it out kind of for yourself. And I think it can be really helpful when connecting to that menstrual cycle because it is that feminine energy, right? Like, yes, it has some parts to it that are more masculine, but it really helps you to visualize it and see what's going on and then allows you to kind of bring that back in to like, I noticed yesterday I was feeling really buzzy or whatever, like, and I just needed to slow down, or I was angry, or whatever it is coming, whatever
Right,
emotion is coming out. So,
right.
yeah.
I think the act of simply bringing your awareness to yourself, even if it's just taking your temperature or noting down how you're feeling, it's a moment where you are pausing, noticing, you're like, huh, okay, write that down. And it's it's so tiny and it doesn't take much time at all, but it's, as you said, like it's inherent that, okay, this cycles for me, I would say, are feminine. That's the flowing, the
Mhm.
changing, the nurturing cycles, how the world has sustained life for so many centuries, years, is through all the cycles on Earth. And I like to use this for my school kids when I do workshops with them. And I'm like, we are just little planets. We have our own cycles. And when one of the cycles are off, you know that something is wrong. Like when the weather changes, when the water cycle, when it's drier than it normally is, you know that something's not right. And it's the same with the cycles that we have, whether it's your digestion or your menstrual cycle. And like when we think about it, like in terms of relating us to the world, it actually makes so much sense.
It
And
does.
and I think it baffles my mind how so many women, I think only now there's like a cultural awakening, a world awakening around menstrual cycle and connecting to the body and understanding our rhythm. Um, yeah, and my mom went through her whole life up until menopause not knowing anything about her cycle.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
wild to me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I would have had such a hard time.
I know. Well, I look up to like 35 and I was like, what was I
Yeah.
doing? And I think innately I wanted to know. Like I was
Mm.
curious and I wanted to know, but then this fear of getting pregnant or having terrible cramps or whatever it was that I had in my head from all of the things growing up, those get stuck there and you don't know how to manage that until you finally break that cycle and realize, oh, okay, this is a lot. And I think a lot of women especially who come to me and they're like, I chart my period, right? And I'm like, okay, but do you chart your cycle? Like, that's a
Mhm.
huge one
Yeah.
because you got to really embody the full cycle, and then only then can you understand that connection to whether that's cycle burnout or whatever it is that you're experiencing, stress or sleep or nutrition deficiencies, whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's the so much fear and so much confusion. Yeah, as you said,
Yeah.
around pain, around getting pregnant, around, and it's like, okay, let's not touch that. Let's not
Right.
touch that.
Well, and I mean the pill is basically
Right.
a man's cycle. And we live in a man's world. And of course, eventually it's going to catch up, but initially it might feel good to not have that cyclical nature.
Hmm.
Um, Although I
And
think everyone that I talk to says, they're like, oh my gosh, I hated being on birth control. I haven't like, I've dealt with a few people who are like, I love birth control. It's the best thing. But
yeah,
really, a lot of us are just like not into that. So.
right. Yeah, I've heard both sides, I guess. And I think it has to do with not having adequate information and support around the emotions that come up, the symptoms that come up. I think yeah, it is way easier to not have a cycle if you're not supported in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what
How
are you
do
gonna say?
you, this just kind of like popped up, but how do you recommend the spouses or people in your life support you during this cycle burnout phase? If you're in full burnout, what can they do to kind of help support you through it? Or even family members or during
Yeah.
the recovery?
I think when someone is truly burnt out or on the verge of burnout, you can see symptoms such as wanting to be alone, being interested in doing anything, hobbies, nothing around the house, isolating. And these are the moments as people who are around these people to really step up and maybe take responsibility around the house, ask them what they need, how can they be supported, because they are literally depleted, because they literally have given all of their energy out and they just need to recharge. In my sessions with women who have been officially diagnosed with burnout, most of our session is me leading them through a grounding, basically a body scan,
Yeah.
because and and they say it's so nurturing because when you're in burnout, your attention lives outside of you because you're sorting things out, you're figuring things out, you're giving your, how the saying goes, where your attention goes, energy flows, right? And so, like, taking that literally, where your attention goes, your energy is flowing there. So, when someone is burnt out, bringing their energy back into themselves is actually the most healing thing that they can do.
Yes. That's so good.
And as I said, coming into this work, I've come in here with a plethora of different tools, and I was like, okay, I'm listening to this message that came through, and it was loud and clear, and I'm like, I'm going step by step and I'm going to figure out and understand. And I started with a few clients, and this was so simple. And I I didn't realize how much it was helping them. And usually they say burnout can last for a couple of months and until a few years, the symptoms of it. And I have a client that really got her energy back within a month.
Wow.
And yeah, and she's the one, she said that she felt like a phoenix, that she burned to the ashes and then she was reborn. And I was
That's so
like,
beautiful.
yeah, it is.
Gosh.
I'm like, it's insane. And she has done a lot of the work internally. As you said, we are here to support and we can do what we can in the hour we have with them. But the rest of the time is you are taking the little bits of the things that you recognize that are nurturing you or that are sticking out to you, and you're implementing it. And
Yeah,
that needs to happen.
absolutely. I think too, we try to make things more complicated. We think that we need all these
Mm,
supplements and pills and drinks and all the things to help us. And really, it's already in us. Like we've got what we need. We just
yes.
need to implement it. And I
Yep.
think that's where you come in, right? Like you can help them implement it. And they're so freaking lucky to have you as their guide. Like, oh my gosh, I want to work with you. I feel like I could gain so much, but then I'd probably be like a session, I'd be like, I don't like that, but then I'm going to do
No.
it anyway.
I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do. And it's more of a guiding you back into what's alive within you. Yes, many times I find it hard to find words to talk about what it
Well,
is.
difficult because I think it's different for every person too. Like their
Yes.
journey is not someone else's journey. And so to have like a specific protocol isn't going to work. And I think we're so based on, well, what did you do for this? What did you do for that? And you really have to kind of dive deep and be like, no, what's going to work for me? How can I be resilient? How can I connect with myself or my menstrual cycle or, say no? I mean, I think I have a million things on Instagram where I'm like, no is a full sentence. Like it is. And so that people pleasing comes up. And so, yeah, I think that it can be you have what it takes to do it. It just kind of might need a facilitator, right?
Yeah. I think a sentence that I learned when I was in my health coach training was, if the body is given half a chance to heal, it will.
Mhm.
It went something along those lines. And it's just giving ourselves the chance to heal, to reduce stress. And that comes from listening and understanding what the body needs, understanding what your heart, your mind, what's happening in the present moment, and how can you give yourself what you need.
Yes, absolutely. Going from giving yourself what you need, do you recommend any other types of healing modalities? I know you talked about just kind of like that body scan.
Yeah.
But do you recommend anything that could help impact or, I guess, encourage the connection with your body more? Things that you would
Yeah,
recommend?
actually, for some time, I haven't done it in a while, but simply first thing in the morning, just to put a time on it so it's easy to remember and clock in. After you've taken your basal body temperature, to place your hands on your body. And this is because our hands, you know, our hands go on the computer and our attention is on the computer. Our hands go on the phone and our attention is on the phone, or it's cooking or writing, or and so our hands have a lot of power, and there are a lot of nerves on our hands. And so simply putting your hands on your belly, on your breasts, on your womb space, on your thighs, and just gently rubbing, like just doing little squeezes and paying attention to your hand on your body and your body receiving the warmth of your hand or the little things. It's just if your mind is too active to do a body scan by yourself without being guided, or even when you're guided, it can be very helpful to have something physical that you're being touched, and you can just pay attention to that. And again, bringing your awareness back to yourself. This is how you can recharge from the inside. And that's super nurturing to do in the morning before you start your tasks and start giving to your family and you make breakfast or coffee for blah, 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 blah,
Right.
you know?
I love that. Yeah, that is so good. Something in our family that reminds me of that because we started doing 1 minute hugs. So
Ah!
we do the heart to heart,
Oh.
and I can tell like if my kids are stressed or even my husband, he'll be like, you look like you need a hug. And I'm like, I do. I'm like, I don't want to, but I do. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, just get away. But then I do it, and afterwards it's like, okay, whoa. Like you said, like just having that touch, because I feel like while yes, some young mothers might be touched out by their kids, we also need
Mm.
that like nourishing touch. We need that like connection. We just don't get that. We're a society that lives, like you said, on our phones, on our computers, on whatever, and we're touching everything else, but we aren't coming back to ourselves. So I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So
No,
good.
and it's nice the minute hug. It that's I mean, I remember growing up and when I was living in the same house as my mom, we would hug and we would rub downwards on our spines. So it'd be like a little massage on both of us.
I love
And
that.
that's best. And it's
It
like
is. It
the
just
best
feels
way to wake
good.
up.
I know. It just feels good. And at first, like for the first 20 seconds, it's like, oh, this is taking forever. And then you get in it and it's like,
Mm.
after you're done, you're like, wow, that was really nice. Like, thank you. And so I know my daughter, her love language is not touch, like whatsoever. And so she just like initially is just cringes. And then I'm like, oh, come on, and then after a while, we just like snuggle into each other. So
So
we
good.
all we all need it, even though you don't think you need it, you need it. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, our time is coming to an end. So I wanted to just ask you, where can our listeners learn more about you, and your work and how they can connect with you if they're struggling with burnout or stress or want to really step forward into this work with you?
I am mainly active on Instagram under my name, Valentina Thayer. Or, yeah, I had a website, but it's under maintenance right now.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
would say Instagram is a good way.
perfect. Perfect. We'll have them connect with you and I'll put everything in the show notes. And is there anything that you want to leave this space telling our listeners?
Hmm. I would say if you are going through a lot of stress right now or burnout, there is hope and there is a way to live your life where you are not stressed, or that it's not every day and you get to feel ease when you're breathing and your chest expands and you're able to relax your jaw, and that these days are also part of you and you deserve to have those part of your life. And the main part is connecting to yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, that was so good. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon.